Hi, Aisha or Delano. Good afternoon, everyone. What's the background? Just give me an emoji to let me know that you are seeing me clearly and hearing me clearly as well. If you look to the bottom of your screen, you will see react sign. You can give me a heart, thumbs up, a smiley face. All right, good afternoon, everyone. The emojis are coming in. Thank you. Welcome to another in the episode of ComC Talks. Remember to like, subscribe, and share. Of course, we have to work with the trends of the 21st century, and we know how the youngsters are. I am Ava Marie Francis Reed, Curriculum Development Officer at the Council of Community Colleges of Jamaica. Really pleased to see everyone online. This is our second in the series of our ComC Talks, and we have an illustrious guest with us today. He's one of our very own, Paul St. Ledger Cox. But before I tell you some more about him, I would like to just share with you a few rules of how we will go about being engaged this afternoon. And so this will be highly interactive. We're going to ask that you raise hand, ask a question, use the chat, raise hand feature, emoji feature, the effects. Use them up, react to us, react in the chat as well. Also, special welcome to the Executive Director of the CCCJ, Dr. Donna Powell-Wilson. Good to have you on. Dr. Powell-Wilson, if you all recall, she was a part of the first series of ComC Talks. And so, before anything else, I want to introduce our speaker and tell you a little about what Mr. Cox will be speaking to us about. As you know, everyone, we are looking on the outside, and if you look through any window near you, once you are anywhere upwards of Kingston 6, you will see yellow on the ground. And when yellow leaves are on the ground, who can tell me what it means? Yellow leaves. And I know it's not just for country folks. We know the Kingstonians know this too. Put it in the chat. What does it represent? Yellow leaves on the ground. It represents something major for us as scholars. No one knows? Yellow leaves on the ground. Not you, Mr. Cox. The audience, I'm seeing that we have quite a few participants on. All right. Exam season, yes, that's it. Exam season is upon us. And so we will really learn some tips. We understand that a few persons may not join us live, but this recording will be shared. As such, I want you to be okay with some tips. And so today, the discussion will be about accessing and completing online exams, key final exam reminders, exam study tips, and of course, there will be an opportunity to ask questions. We are live on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook. And so we're asking all participants to feel free to engage in this afternoon's session. If you want to join live on YouTube, Instagram, or Facebook, it's at the CCCJ. So that's at the CCCJ. All right. And so, without further ado, I want to tell you about the gentleman who is on screen. He is Paul St. Ledger Cox. Paul Cox is an educational measurement specialist. He has divided 14 years of his professional work experience across the fields of healthcare and education in Jamaica. He has earned both his bachelor's degree in physical therapy and a master's degree in educational measurement from the University of the West Indies. Mr. Cox presently serves as the Director of Assessment and Examinations at the Council of Community Colleges of Jamaica. Paul has a keen research interest in classroom assessment, science misconceptions, and student learning. Who better then to speak to us about the matter at hand? Paul Cox, welcome, and thank you for agreeing to be this week's speaker.
Good afternoon, Mrs. Francis Reed. Thank you so much for that warm introduction. Thank you so much for the persons who have decided to come in and join us as we share ideas, share tips as to how we engage in our semester 2 examination session. So thank you for the persons who are here with us, and just allow me, I want for it to be conversational as best as it's possible. So persons will be monitoring the chat across all social media platforms. So each and every question will be facilitated during this time. So once again, thank you for having me, and I will try my best to go through the items for discussion. First and foremost, students, it's your time to shine. You will be engaging in your final exams in the next week. And as such, it is important that your mind, your heart, and everything is geared and ready to focus on your final exams. So essentially, students, you should have in your possession at this moment a copy of the final examination timetable. No, it's important that you have a copy and not a copy that is shared by your colleague or your classmate. It is important that you know the time and the date of your exams. So that is also important that you are familiar with the timetable so that you do not turn up to your institution, whichever one of the institutions you're a part of, or you miss your examination day. So it's important that you have a final copy of the examination. If you haven't gotten it yet, please ensure that you go ahead and do so. Now, over the next 2 weeks of the semester 2 examination session, you'll be doing a number of final exams. You would have gone to your classes, you would have participated in your group and collaborative exercises, you would have done mid-semester coursework, examinations, etc. Now it is time for your final exams. Now, your final exams are the crux of the teaching and learning process. So it means, therefore, it is not going to give you an opportunity to shine. It will give you an opportunity to showcase what you would have mastered, definitely mastered over the last semester. So, students, it is important that you bear certain things in mind. So yes, we've cleared up the aspect of your timetable. Now, as you continue to prepare for your final exams, it is important for you to devise, study, and practice techniques that suit you. Notice I'm emphasizing you. Study is a unique activity. And if you're in a space of 10 or more students, you will realize that each student, each learner accesses information differently. So it is important for you, one, now to identify what best suits you, what study mechanism suits you. If you are an individual type of person where you can't share information in a group-like setting, or you struggle within that group dynamic, then that may not be best for you. However, if it is that you thrive off engaging other persons and sharing content with other persons, then you may so decide to formulate your group, your groups, and you engage with the material, you engage with the learning material. Also, students, because we are a week away from exams, it is pointless to cram. I know you may be saying that, boy, cramming the information is my best way. But I am advocating and I'm sharing with you that the content that you try to cram, it may not necessarily suit you on the day of the exams. So what is best going forward is that you do what is termed spaced repetition. So you devise a study timetable or you devise a study schedule that suits your individual needs. And you take your time and you go through the content in bite-sized portions. Notice I said spaced repetition. So from time to time, you will have to re-engage the material as opposed to having it being a one-shot task. So you space your study sessions to ensure that you are benefiting from the content. You are able to not only remember the content, but you're also better able to apply the content in the instance where novel situations are presented in your final exams. Also, it is important to understand that you have to engage in active study techniques. So don't wait for the 11th hour. Don't wait until Sunday night before you start exams on the 6th of May. I'm hoping that you would have started to prepare your prepare your study sessions, and you're going through the material piece by piece. That is important. Note also, I'm highlighting this point, that your study technique doesn't have to be what is popular, whatever works for you. So I know a lot of students sometimes will take the material and they would generate study cards, flashcards. If that works for you, then by all means, you will continue with that practice. But if it doesn't, if you realize that you have to speak to your siblings in the household, you have to engage your parents, or you engage some other family member, and you talk through the material, that is a good way to engage spaced repetition. And it's a good way for you to remember the content, because in instances where you are faced with a question, you will remember, boy, you know, I spoke to my cousin about this particular concept or this particular principle, and then you will remember that conversation going forward. There are a lot of persons also that once they read through the material and they make short notes, just by writing the short notes, they tend to remember the material better. So it is best for you to identify and select which study technique is beneficial to you. Another key point to remember, students, is that access the information for whatever course that you are doing from multiple sources. You would have been engaged over the last semester, formal collaborative spaces, group activities, formal lectures as well. It is important for you to, one, you have your course outline with you and go through the course outline unit by unit. I'm hoping that the course outline isn't a novel document. It's not the first time that you're seeing it as you are preparing for your exams. Your course outline is an important feature of the teaching and learning process. So I'm hoping that you would have had access and you would have been using your course outline as you go through the material. Importantly, students, if your course outline has 6 or 7 units, it is important that you familiarize yourselves with all 7 units. Do not take it for granted and space out and say, you know what, I am only focusing on units 1 to 3, and then you ignore the other units. So it is important that you are familiar with the content of the course. That is important. Now, I know a lot of students enjoy rote learning and practice learning in terms of getting the past papers and going through the questions. It may be beneficial to a number of students, but I am advocating, I have a personal bias and I'll share it. If it is that you would have been sufficiently taught, if it is that you were going through the learning material throughout the semester, unit by unit, and there were sufficient opportunities for assessment of learning, so you did your coursework pieces, your mid-semesters, the practice questions bears little fruit, if I'm being honest. So rather than prepare yourselves for an exam, you're preparing yourselves for the course and for life after the course. So it is not so much so important for persons to focus on practice questions, the drill and practice and the rudiments of going through past paper questions. Your focus at this point in time is to ensure that you are familiar with the content, you're familiar with each unit in that particular course. And by familiarizing yourself with the content and each unit of the course, it means, therefore, irrespective of the question that comes on the paper, you would have been sufficiently able to navigate and to respond to those questions successfully. So I am advocating for students to walk through your course outline and ensure that you are comfortable and competent in all units of that course outline. Notice I said that you are to access multiple resources as you study and you get yourself ready for the final examination session. It means, therefore, if you were not engaging with YouTube before and other learning management systems and other social media platforms and group fora, now is the time to engage. The internet is at your fingertip. It means, therefore, that the content is available. The content is available. Also, students, your greatest resource material, your greatest resource personnel is your lecturers at this point in time, or your tutors. You may be wrapping up in terms of closing off the semester, depending on which institution you're a part of. It means, therefore, students, try to engage your lecturers through email or whatever medium through which you would have been engaging with your lecturer. Ask of them important questions as you go through the material of the course. Your lecturers are there to assist. Also, be mindful that your lecturers are also humans. So you also have to respect the time limits, the time in which you engage them. If your lecturer is that person that you can engage over the weekend, then by all means engage over the weekend. But I'm just asking students to be mindful that your lecturers are also persons as well. So be respectful of your time and the manner in which you go about engaging, but they are one of your greatest resource personnel. Now, exams, you are within our community college network, you are in the teachers colleges network, you are in the polytechnic network. You are not new to formal examinations, and that's fine. You're not new. The anxiety, the fear, the trepidation, it still carries and it still has its weight. Exams are very high stakes because a lot is counting on your success. You are counting on your success. The institution is counting on your success. Your family members are counting on your success. Students, it is important for you to manage your anxiety. It's easier said than actually done, but you would have gone through the rigors of CSEC, PEP, some instance GSAT, or even common entrance. So you would have been familiar with formalized high stakes examinations. It doesn't mean, therefore, that the anxiety is any less. But try to find some form of meditation techniques, some form of deep breathing exercises before going into an examination setting. You may be a student with sweaty palms. You may be a student with hyperactivity disorder, or along the spectrum, there are multiple things that can impact your performance in an exam. And I'm sure you would have identified some of these activities that will cause you to go awry. Students, it is important that you manage the process as best as possible. Importantly as well, rest is important. So I know some of you will be akin to engaging in all-night study sessions, and it may work fine for you, but as I said earlier, that there's no one size fits all. Rest is important. I'm not going to advocate for 7, 6, or 8 hours, but rest is important before your 9 o'clock exam or before your 1 o'clock exam. It allows for your mental activity to be so sharp that once you get into that room, you are better able to, one, compose yourself and to read through the items before you actually engage and start reading the paper. So sleep is important. Additionally, for some persons, their gastric systems may not open as early before a 9 o'clock examination, but breakfast is an important thing. And I'm not saying that you should carbohydrate load and have 3 pieces of yam and banana, etc. But a light snack, some juice that will get your mind fueled and ready to participate in the 2-hour exams or the 3-hour exams, as the case may be for practical sessions. So your nutritional aspect has to be taken care of. Your mental aspect has to be taken care of. Your physical aspect has to be taken care of as well. Students, we understand the transportation network that exists. If you're coming from wherever you're coming from, you have to give yourself some time to get to your examination location in a good enough, reasonable time. You can't have a 9 o'clock exam and at 8:30 you are at whichever transportation center or taxi station. That too adds to the anxiety. So it's best to give yourselves adequate time to get to the location so that you can unwind, so that you can calm yourself and ensure that you're giving yourself your best shot going forward. So be mindful and plan accordingly for any eventuality. And there may be also instances that you may set out early to get to the campus, as the case may be, but for whatever reason, God forbid that there's an accident or any number of things that can happen. So it is good for you to set out early to give yourselves a good and a fighting chance. Students, the anxiety may manifest itself in varied ways. I can share an anecdote here. There are two courses that are similarly named. So if it is that you're doing sustainable tourism, there's another course called sustainable tourism management. Students, ensure that you pause long enough to read through and to ensure that the course that you are doing is actually the paper that is in front of you. So I know the anxieties of getting into an examination space. I know the trepidation that you may have, but it's important for you to pause long enough to read through at least the cover page to ensure that if you're there for sustainable tourism, the paper should read sustainable tourism and not sustainable tourism management. This bodes well and it's applicable to our students who are also accessing the examinations online. Now, you would have done it in the past, and you are aware that in the online setting, if something can happen in the online setting, it will happen. So there will be technical glitches, there will be connectivity issues, there may be a million and one issues. And this too adds to the stress and the anxiety of completing the paper. But I cannot overemphasize the point. I'm asking my students, and I'm saying my students because you belong to all of us here at the Council of Community Colleges of Jamaica. We want for you to be successful. So it means, therefore, that you would have to sit, read through the papers before you actually engage with the material. Read through to ensure, reconcile that the course that you're doing is what is on the timetable and what you have signed up to do as well. So, students, be calm, be measured, be collective. Ensure that you give yourselves an excellent fighting chance, especially in these times. A lot is riding on your exam success. A lot is the world of work is waiting for you to be engaged, and this qualification will give you that greater access to the labor market that exists. Not only the labor market, but it also gives you an opportunity to increase your entrepreneurial spirit and to market yourselves better. Students, it is important for you also to know the structure of your final exam. So you cannot be doing foreign language and not know that foreign language carries an oral component and the concomitant weighting of that course. It means, therefore, students, your course outline again is important. Your course outline is so developed that it breaks down how it is that the course that you're doing is going to be assessed. So there is a coursework component, there is a mid-semester component, and there's a final examination component. And yes, you may be saying that, sir, all of us know this. Not quite so. For a number of students, the first time that they're engaging the course outline is at the end of the semester. So it brings us, therefore, to ensure that our students are familiar with the content. Note also, students, have this conversation with your lecturers to ensure that, okay, am I to be getting a multiple choice? Am I to be getting essays? Am I to be getting how many essays should I choose? This also mitigates and it controls the anxiety because the first time knowing the format of the exam shouldn't be on the day of the exams. Students, it should not be on the day of the exams. So it's important for you to have conversations, seek out the information so that you know that what you're getting into. You should know as well that if the paper should have 4 items and you're only seeing 2, then therein lies a challenge. You can indicate by asking whomever is invigilating that exam, or if you're in the online space, whomever is proctoring that exam. Proctoring is just the name that is used, especially in our virtual and online space. So you engage your proctor to say, boy, I'm not seeing all of the items. If there's a glitch moving from one MCQ multiple choice question to the other, then you can have the conversations with your proctor to say, that X is happening. How can I forget that we also have students who are engaged in the work and travel program, because it is an important metric. It is an important part of our student lives as well. So travel overseas to offset the financial costs associated with your education, and even the financial costs, or to support yourselves and your families. So there are provisions in place, albeit that has been closed off now. So our students who are overseas, be mindful of the time zones that you are in. This is crucial, students. So if you are in, for argument's sake, a state that is an hour ahead of Jamaica, be mindful of this information as well, because your examinations will be shared with your proctor at X time. So if it is that you start late, there will be absolutely no provisions for an additional time, because the responsibility is yours to ensure that you are comfortable with respect to the time zones, and that you turn up at your testing site or your testing location as well. So I'm trying to cover all of our students that we will satisfy. So if you are in the States working, please ensure that you engage your proctor and you engage the time zones as well. So don't take it for granted that it is 9 o'clock also in Chicago. Don't take it for granted that it is 9 o'clock in Wisconsin, because I know a number of our students are operating from those states as well. So students, know your examination format, develop or continue to work through your study techniques, use multiple resources to access information, not only to access the information, but for explanation and for explanation purposes as well. Because sometimes there may be other persons external to your institution that may proffer or put forward a simpler explanation, one that you are better able to manage and to engage with. Meditate, deep breathing exercises, get to your testing location in time, eat, sleep, relax. For those of you who are so inclined to your spirituality, engage that higher being. Engage that higher being to ask for the anxiety to be lessened. Whatever content you would have gone through, you would have ruminated over, that it comes back to you, not only forcefully, but with great clarity and with ease, so that you can be successful. For my online students, Moodle should not be something to be feared. Yes, there may be technical issues with connectivity, with the power supply, etc. Be calm, be composed. You can do this, and you will do this. So, on behalf of the Council of Community Colleges of Jamaica, our Executive Director, Dr. Donna Paul Wilson, we want you to be successful. You will be successful. And for your examination session, we wish for each and every one of you great success and a multiplicity of A's. All the very best, and Godspeed.
Thank you so much, Mr. Cox. Thank you. That was a mouthful, but it was very, very tasty. Now, just to share, as you started, I couldn't help but remember, and so this is really anecdotal evidence to support that which you started with. Now, Mr. Cox, approximately 20 years ago, I relied on friends and classmates to share exam timetable. And so the college I went to, it would be posted at the departments. At that time, emails weren't the thing. And so a classmate would have said, we have Geography 101 on the 12th, 1 p.m. That was it for us. Well, on the 12th, we were casually resting, all of us. I remember one was on campus and few of us were on campus. And about 8:50 something, Miss Flinch, God bless her, called to say, why aren't you all down here? What's happening? And we said, Miss, it's 1 p.m. She said, no, it's a 9 a.m. exam. The rules were you had to wear uniform, you had to be there 30 minutes before. Long and short, from that day, that which you shared earlier became something that it was almost ingrained in us. We need to check the timetable. And so thank you for sharing more than 10 tips with us this afternoon. And so, Mr. Cox, you really taught us how to prepare for the exam, not just theoretically, but you gave us steps, how to prepare psychologically, how to prepare physically, how to prepare practically. And so a quick question for you. Whilst we wait on the online audience and those we are engaging on social media to send their questions, just one quick one. What would you tell that young man or young woman who believes he or she has convinced him or herself that I cannot study days or weeks in advance? If I don't do it the night before, then I will not retain. How would you help that young lady or young man?
Thank you so much, Mrs. Francis Reed. As I would have mentioned earlier, that studying is individual. Studying is unique to you, and I'm emphasizing the you. So our students are not engaging in exams for the very first time. So it means, therefore, that they would have developed a pattern, whether it may be maladaptive, that is open for discussion. But students, it's important for you to identify and to know what works best for you. So I am not going to be advocating and to be very prescriptive in how it is that students go about in terms of engaging the material. What is important is that they engage it. And the time at which they engage it is entirely up to them. But what I wanted to underscore at this point in time, if it takes you 2 weeks to prepare or it takes you an hour to prepare, preparations. And it is best for you to engage with the material for 10 minutes as opposed to not engaging with it for any or none at all. So I would advocate for my students, and I'm emphasizing my students because you all are, to engage with the material. Know what best works for you. So if it is an all-nighter, by all means, exercise and do your all-nighter. But do not go into the examination not prepared. So that is what I would share with our students. Know what works for you and capitalize on what best works for you.
Thank you so much for that one. Do we have any questions at this time? Any comment? Any comments? Shanika Jarrett, your microphone was open at one point. Do you want to ask a question or share a comment? Anyone? And while they continue to think about that which they would want to share, you mentioned some must-haves. The course outline, yes? Many of us, we really rely on past papers and not course outline. And so thank you for that reminder to really befriend the course outline as one of those tools we need for exam preparation. Thank you. All right. I'm not sure if there are any other questions at this time. The good thing about this is that this material will be available for all students, all 10,000 students across our member institutions. And I'll go further to say students doing PEP, students doing CSEC, CAPE, students at the tertiary level preparing for examinations. What was shared really would be meaningful for all examiners. And so, and examinees alike. Thank you so much, Mr. Cox, for your presentation this afternoon. Thank you for really the elucidation. Thank you for that which you brought to us. Colleagues, one and all, I'm opening a final time for any comments or questions at this time. If there are none, then we are going to conclude the second in the episode of Come See Talks. All right, Mr. Cox, any final words for us as we take leave of each other this afternoon? Once again, on behalf of the Council of Community Colleges of Jamaica, thank you for your time. Thank you for your expertise. Thank you for the information shared with us here this afternoon. Final words to you, sir, and then we bid adieu.
Thank you, Mrs. Francis Reed. Students across Jamaica and the region and internationally, be calm, be composed, be collective. You have the power to excel and you will excel. All the very best in your semester 2 examinations. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And thank you to all our viewers, participants. Thank you all for joining us. See you in May.